Thank you.
Our fourth team is Team Bill Pay It Forward. And with team lead Lucy Pierman and presenters Linnaeus Solom and Mikhail Petrev, who will be available for questions from the judges. Please share Team Bill Pay It Forward's presentation. I'll start the clock once you're ready.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to Demo Day. I'm Linnaeus Solom, the spokesperson for Team Bill Pay It Forward. Our team is passionate about helping female entrepreneurs own their own financial footprint using alternative data to tell their story. So let's go on a footprint journey. Next slide. The headlines speak for themselves. When you look at the traditional system today, there are cracks in the system, whether it's biased, incomplete, or inaccurate data, or complaints from consumers about the lack of transparency due to secret algorithms due to credit scoring. There is an impact. Next slide. Let's look at the current state. The current model impacts and looks at lenders versus valuing consumers. The numbers tell the story. When an individual has no credit or thin credit, it is very difficult in an uphill battle to get to a bankable score. There is data, however, that's unscorable, which is basically data that's left off the table. And that results in a loss of economic power. Credit inequality matters. It contributes to the wealth gap. So what do we do? Next slide. Our vision is a consumer app. Bill Pay It Forward will be a consumer app that provides consumers a new way to tell their financial footprint story through the creation of a financial stability rating. Here's how it works. A financial stability rating uses non-traditional data provided by the customer that will look at their actual payment history and calculate a rating that shows their stability over time. Next slide. Let's look at the power behind the solution. This is the missing piece of the puzzle. Payment performance stability is based on true transactions. The history and frequency of recurring payments, whether they're transactional or demonstrate true cash flow history, it paints a complete picture of what's happening within the small business owner. It's basically a way to right-size the lending profile by showing the complete picture of what's happening within a new business or a business that wants to grow. Next slide. So how are we different? Well, let's put it at front and center. We want to be consumer enabled, where the consumer, the end user, controls and owns their own data. They're in the driver's seat to steer their financial future. But we know we can't do this alone. Community partnerships are important and critical. Organizations that focus on mission-driven lending or even looking at community development financial institutions, they all have to approach non-traditional data on their own. We want to streamline that process. We want to make it simple for the small business owner to tell their story and highlight their successes. Hey, I like to think about it as like Credit Karma, but for non-traditional data, because the power is in those patterns of repeat history of alternative data sources, because that really shows that stability. We want a complete picture, because I think that makes a difference in how we approach the solution. Next slide. Okay, now here we get into the exciting stuff from a Bill Pay It Forward demonstration perspective. We've created a prototype that shows the front-end user experience, and then we'll show you the back-end machine learning and modeling. You'll see that we're pre-populating certain data elements that's going to that payment history. Obviously, we'll rely on data aggregators to help us paint and collect that data to present it. But what we want to show you is the stability factors. This first profile shows you a very high rating, long history of recurring payments, utilities, other types of recurring or non-traditional payments. The second example shows you a different story, lower profile, less frequency or length of time. I think with this point, we can stop this demo and advance the slide just to show you the power behind the model. We used the data set that was available with the recurring payment data, but we know the solution is bigger than that. If you start the video, you'll see how the patterns and the attributes can flow through. That's the picture for the techies. You can stop the video. Let me wrap up by saying, on the next slide, we really want female owners to be able to tell their own story today and tomorrow. Those future footprints are those new opportunities for women to be able to start their own business. We're open for questions, and we've got our technical resource on the line to answer any of the questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really interesting, especially in the context of describing a financial stability index, especially as we emerge from the financial crisis, being able to measure financial stability is going to be important. We have a number of questions from the judges. I'd like to start with Leslie Ann.
Hi guys. This works. In Kenya, we've done this in 2012 with telco data, M-Pesa data, and when the banks accept it, you end up with lots of money flows and good things happen. And have you thought about, are you going to run a scheme? Is it, how do you think about how banks will accept some kind of new score? But that was the breakthrough in the M-Pesa situation.
You're right. I've actually used parts of this model myself in working with a local micro lender, CDFI. And the power is they're always challenged to deal with non-traditional data, but didn't have a framework to be objective. We're not making the risk-based decision. We're just telling the full story. We know it will take some outreach, some education, but we want to work with the relationships for those people in the community and organizations that are already going after helping that lower segment of the market that's not bankable. And that's where we want to get them and increase their footprint and visibility.
Thank you. Next question from Mary Ellen Iskandarian.
Hi. I had a similar question, maybe building on that. What kind of help would you be needing from regulators? Because I think, the CDFIs are one thing, but getting buy-in on a completely different rating is going to be a big task. What kind of support would you need from regulators to push this through?
Great question. I think the key starts with education. This is a supplemental strategy to help fill in the gap. That's why we use the missing piece of the puzzle. We can anticipate nonprofits or things like CUNA could really help bring this into the credit union segment. And I think the key is really looking at how this fits into, expanding. We're filling the gaps that they don't see about their consumer. So I think what we need from the regulators is the outreach and education to help people realize that you have to look at more data in a risk assessment.
We have time for one more quick question, and M. Shaw, I see your hand raised.
First of all, also want to echo, love the thoughts, and certainly a big proponent of using alternative data sources. Quick question is, to what extent is it the importance of marrying that with FICO scores? Think about partnering with some of the traditional folks and really providing a holistic perspective. I think that could go a long way towards validating. Have you thought about that and talk a little bit about the potential there?
Quickly.
Yeah, we did think about that because we know that there are non-traditional data sources that are focused on really on the lending side, but the challenge for very early business owners is just getting started, and that's where the solution fits.
Thank you